Influence has two ways to gain victory points. Territory is bonus VP at the end of the game, and then exchanging Pure at the 13 Spiders layer gets you VP generation throughout the game. Hacking is VP generation throughout the game. So if there was another way that we could use tech as like a bonus VP at the end of the game, that would also be good. And something that I saw that we haven't really dealt with yet, that we had in the Steampunk game was treasures. In the Steampunk game, treasures were obtained from the ruined world, which in Steampunk would, or in the Cyberpunk would be Perisphere. And the treasures were worth either a lot of money or would give you a static ability, like one time. However, we could make Perisphere artifacts, which would basically be treasures that you obtain through the singularity, as something you hang on to. And instead of just adding more and more like special abilities to the game, what if they're just worth VP? So if you go to the Perisphere, you can get Pure, or you could get some of these artifacts. And if you hang on to those artifacts throughout the game, that's guaranteed VP just sitting on your ship count at the end.
So, question, are we going to consider this like just cargo space, or is it going to be like an additional ship upgrade like some of the treasures were?
It seems like they would be their own, like you can have a certain number of them on your ship, and then because thematically we could explain it like this. If you have too many Perisphere artifacts, your ship lights up like a beacon because it gives off a radioactive signature, right? And if you have too many of those artifacts in one spot, you're going to light up like a firework, and everybody's going to be on your ass trying to take them from you. But there's a safe amount that you can carry around, and it'd be worth something to you without endangering your crew and your ship.
Well, it's not only that, but it also could have the, I don't know, it's not radiation, but whatever detrimental effect the other world has, it could carry that. So if you have too many of those, the exposure itself could cause harm.
Right. If Pure is radioactive and has to be put in special containers, then the artifacts would also be giving off that same kind of radiation. And if you have too many, it potentially kill everybody.
Yeah.
I think both scenarios are viable in the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, they're good limiters as well, too. So.
Yeah. So I think if we just have like a certain number of slots on the ship that you can put artifacts, then I think players would accept that. I think they'd be, oh, look, 3 artifact slots. I can go and I can collect 3 artifacts over the course of the game. And try to get as much bonus VP as I can.
Okay.
And if we wanted to sort of like incentivize artifact acquisition a little bit more, we could say, okay, you've got 3 slots. And when you go to this Perisphere to pick up artifacts, you can pick up, like, let's say small ones, which are worth like 1 VP, for example. You fill up all 3 slots of small artifacts, and then some later turn, let's say you go back, and if you discard 2 small ones, you could take a medium back, which only takes up 1 slot, but is worth 2 smalls. And then we could have a large size, where if you have 2 mediums on your ship, you can go back, and if you can use your tech skill successfully to acquire a large plus giving up 2 mediums, then you can take away a large. It's like in Yu-Gi-Oh, where you're sacrificing smaller monsters to put out the bigger one.
I missed that by that much. I'm old.
It would be like if you had to give up 2 Pikachus to get 1 Raichu. I know you understand that one.
I understand the concept.
Okay.
I never actually played, but yeah, I understand.
So there could be like an artifact exchange thing. It could either be like, I'm trying to make it make sense, like story wise. Like, why would you have to give up 2 smaller artifacts just to take another one onto your ship?
Indiana Jones.
I guess that's a good explanation, actually. You know what? Actually, if you've got all 3 slots full and you want to go back and get a medium, if you succeed at a medium, like succeeding at a medium requires discarding 2 smalls to get 1 medium. But there's still like this logical loophole where it's like, but if I have nothing in my cargo, why can't I just get a medium if my tech skill is high enough and forego the whole smalls thing? And I'm trying to figure out like how we can make that make sense. Could be that we could treat it like Pure, where you have to take the artifact somewhere else.
Yeah.
What if you find, like we define it, like there's some kind of like ancient forgery or forge or machine shop that allows you to kind of smelt
upgrade them.
Yeah.
Transmutation cube.
There you go.
Just like in Diablo 2, put the right ingredients in and it spits out something cooler.
Yeah.
Right. But putting in earth tech into it does nothing.
Right.
So you have to find artifacts. You have to feed it artifacts, and then it spits out better stuff.
And then you have to have the tech savvy to run it.
To run the machine.
Yeah.
Right. I
like that a lot. Yeah, I like that a lot. So then by that concept, they always start with small. It's not like they could find medium, or they could find medium and then make a large from that.
I think they can only obtain smalls, and then they would have to use the machine to feed it smaller artifacts to spit out bigger ones. And then if they feed it medium ones, it'll spit out a large one.
But you can only do that once per turn, and then you're not allowed to stay there for more than one turn, so you'd have to go and come back.
Right.
So you can't just stay there and keep feeding the machine until you get a large. You literally have to leave and come back.
Yeah.
Right. So
got it.
So if you fail the tech skill to run the machine, what if it says, okay, instead of just finding small artifacts everywhere, what if this was a transmutation device that when you successfully run it, it spits out a small?
Okay.
And then and the machine has different settings, and it's like, do this skill, do the tech skill, it'll spit out, you gain a small. Go back, feed it 2 smalls, and succeed at a skill check that's slightly more difficult. It spits out a medium. Go back, give it 2 mediums, and succeed at an even higher skill check, and it'll spit out a large. So artifacts aren't just laying about. It has
to be manufactured.
It's like
would you have to put pure in the machine to get a small?
Is that getting into too many steps?
I don't know. It just seems like otherwise it seems like we're creating out of nothing. So I just
So getting pure requires you to go through the singularity and obtain pure. Correct. We do not currently have what it takes to obtain pure, like as far as like a skill or whatever.
Right, and that wouldn't take tech. So you technically could use a skill, gain the pure, and then turn around, use tech, and get an object.
Right. If I guess it depends on how people can obtain pure.
Right.
Because if they can, I think it was because you have to use influence to drop it off, right?
Yes.
In the original steampunk game, it was you go to a place, you skill check, pick it up, go to another place, skill check, drop it off. So it does make sense that picking up pure requires a skill check.
So maybe.
However, exchanging pure does take technically 2 skills. Tech to pick up the pure, influence to drop it off. Combat only requires 1 skill that happen. Hacking only requires 1 skill to make that happen. So I guess acquiring artifacts could take 2 skills, and it wouldn't be much different than doing the running of the pure. Yeah, tech skill to pick it up, and then tech skill to run the machine. So you're using tech skill twice, but for 2 different purposes.
I was going to say you could technically argue combat for physical strength to obtain it. Like if you.
Yeah, in my head it was always like mining it.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, are you running machines, or are you actually physically going there and like?
Presumably, in a cyberpunk universe, we would be using like tools in the ship and stuff like that to pick up these crystals, and because they have to go in special containers and stuff, like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And because going through the singularity is dangerous, people going off of ship to get stuff doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Okay.
So being inside the perisphere, tech is really the only skill that really makes sense for that. But if we say that, so we could say that obtaining pure, you can obtain as much pure as you can, as your ship can handle, as long as you have the tech skill to get it. If you fail the tech skill check, we could say you can keep obtaining it until you fail a check, and then when you fail a check, you can't obtain any more, or until your ship is full. Acquiring artifacts and running the transmutation machine can only be done once a turn. Technically 2 different uses of the same skill, which only means that the player has to be more strategic about how they're using their resources, because it's only 1 skill being used to do those 2 things. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It just seems like we're making it tech heavy.
A little bit. It's either that or pure just for getting through the singularity and getting there. And you can pick up 1 container of pure for every trip, and you decide whether or not you want to sit there near the singularity and every turn keep picking up until you're full, and then go drop everything off, depending on your cargo limit.
I guess the other thing I would argue, just to try to make things make sense, would be influence might be able to have, like, you've learned from other travelers where to go, where the mine or where the veins are.
That would be influenced by that. Here's another idea that we haven't really dealt with a lot yet. Crypto. What if you had to basically pay money for your equipment to run to pick up this pure and stuff? Spending money means that you're getting containers. You're spending fuel on the specialized equipment that can pick this stuff up.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we could just say that you have to use crypto to pick up pure. And then that separates it from all skill checks.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
And now it becomes a resource exchange.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. That's really cool.
All right. I just made a quick note of that. Okay. So we're in agreement. Tech is used to run a transmutation machine that can spit out artifacts and exchange artifacts for better artifacts that are worth more VP. So that is bonus VP at the end of the game. We have 2 ways of using tech, 2 ways of using influence. We only have 1 way of using combat, which is literal combat between you and another player. I had an idea that I made a note about. In order to use the combat skill, if we want to bring in more cyberpunk elements or sort of dystopian elements into the game, what if there was an underground fighting circuit?
Yes.
And you could use your combat skill against a static challenge, just like when you're dropping off pure for influence. You use your combat skill against a static challenge to earn VP. But like the singularity moves around the wastelands, the underground fight moves around the city. So you have to physically fly your ship to where the underground fight circuit is to earn VP based on the underground fight.
So this is what I was talking about some time ago, because it was like the 13 spiders would come after you and give you a mark for combat because it was not sanctioned. So this would be a sanctioned fight. Yeah. So I'm down for that.
Oh yeah, and 13 Spiders is totally running like all the betting and like they're making money hand over fist. Like they're totally cool with it. This could also play into territories depending on where the fight circuit is. If the fight circuit is on your territory, then you are not at any disadvantage. But if the fight circuit moves into somebody else's territory, and you go and try to do the fight circuit there, we could call that like you're not on your home advantage anymore, and you're the challenge goes up to try and get the same number of VP. Like that could be a really easy way of generating victory points for sure, and it wouldn't be any different than influence. Whatever challenge we decide to set influence at for dropping off pure, it should be the same for the underground fight circuit, because you're still flying around and spending time to get to it in order to try and succeed. And you're basically spending a turn to try and get that 1 VP. Whereas somebody that is doing the pure exchange, they might spend a couple of extra turns, but they could drop off a lot of pure at once and probably earn just as much as VP as somebody that's continually chasing the underground fight circuit. And that's something we'll just have to test. We'll just have to go in and like, okay, Mario, this game, the only thing you're doing is underground fight circuit. David, the only thing you're doing is running pure. And then like, and then I'll be the guy that's like, oh, and the only thing I'm going to do is acquisition of artifacts and using transmute. And if we take those extreme strategies, we can see if one outpaces the other. Yeah. Because like I said before, we want to encourage players to diversify how they're getting their points to try and outpace other players. Because if they stay parallel and just focus on doing one thing the whole time, we don't want them to become a runaway leader, because then we know we've got something that's kind of a problem.
Now, rewind for just a second. How did you say that influence plays into the underground circuit?
Territory, not influence. I thought
I heard you say influence at one point. That's why I was confused. I thought you said they can use influence to do this with the circuit. And so, okay, never mind.
I think I said something like that. I was talking pretty fast, so
yeah, I know. I was trying to keep up.
I might have misspoke. I'm not sure. Roll the tape.
Yeah.
All right. And then I think early on we talked about the only other way of getting victory points is bonus VP at the end of the game. If you still have raw pure on your ship when end game is triggered, that counts for bonus VP, but obviously not as much as selling it.
Right.
So it has a base worth, and then it has a value, like a lesser value at the end of the game. So if it's getting close to end game, you still have like a chance of getting some bonus VP and try to like do something.
Throw some of it in the engine, super,
right?
Superfly.
So I think we've got all the ways to like try to win under our belt now and something that we can test. Are you guys okay to talk about how everybody might lose and how 13 Spiders might win?
Yeah. Yes. Real quick, I have a question though. So in the end game with the last player, just you may have already covered this, but in the event that maybe one particular player has 2 marks, like the grand scenario is like end game has been activated and you have one player that had 1 mark. And then the next 2 players after that, each create a mark on that previous player. Does 13 Spiders get involved before the end of the game to affect that first player that ended up with 3 marks? Does that make sense?
In the Steampunk game, anytime somebody got 3 wanted tokens,
it's go directly to jail.
Yeah, it's immediate effect. So as soon as you gain that token, it's immediate effect. But you've given me some good ideas about what to do about Endgame and 13 Spiders. So let's get into it.